Something is coming. Something hungry for blood. What is it?
From the beginning of the first episode, it feels like I'm the scientist that gets swooped up in the elevator by the cast and crew, and the Duffer Brothers, personified by the Demogorgon. The show is clearly fine with taking me out of my everyday life and making me disappear for 8 hours until I completely finish the entire first season. And the second season is no different, with the ever-present but not so sensual electricity Steve refers to lighting up this show. The way the characters interact and talk to each other puts you in the third wheel spot of the conversation every time, and somehow manages to make you feel okay with it, watching on with wide eyes and raised eyebrows as the dialogue goes back and forth. Before you know it, the 2 seasons are finished through again, and you're waiting for the 3rd season. But there was something strange about my playthrough this time. I picked up on little things, like hearing the growling noises before the scientist was killed in the elevator, and then what Will heard as he was chased around the buyer's property. We had just seen him playing with his friends, but now his life is in danger. Real danger. A lab couldn't contain this thing, and now it's standing behind Will, making us feel concerned for Will the Wise and pulling us even further into the story. But what I also noticed was that Ted and Steve were basically treated the same. This reminded me of the first time Nancy and Jonathan started bonding in the woods, and the way Nancy looked at the photos. She didn't know Barbara was in any of them while she stood there as a witness to the camera being broken. This made me feel like she was just truly in love with Jonathan, but then I realized that she could have been thinking about her father when she looked at Steve. Up until this point, we really only saw a mild fascination for out of the ordinary in her bathroom meetup with Steve. But again, this all seemed to be in the range of what she may have subconsciously figured to be normal, mostly because she wanted to head back to class when the bell rang. In contrast, we see Nancy ask Jonathan if he wanted to skip 4th period in season 2. Then she went to help expose the truth and find a way to bring Barbara's death to light, missing more than just a period in the days that followed. Just as Steve gets her, he loses her. Dustin saying that Ted wasn't very useful and Mrs. Wheeler getting upset at Ted while they were eating dinner really made me feel like I was missing something. Just like Ted, who repeated the question, "What did I do?" a few times. He spoke and tried to be a part of the disciplining process and still got some whiplash. And then it hit me. Shortly after, it was apparent to the audience that Steve and Nancy were getting together. He changed up his hair, using more products and adding a straightened curl to the front. Whereas Nancy switched over to putting her hair in a ponytail, then cutting it up to her shoulders in season 2. His hair showed me that he was attempting to maintain an image, while she was looking to disturb the perfect picture by cutting her hair and finally publicly incriminating Hawkins' lab for Barbara's death. When she said that her and Jonathan only got together when the world was ending made me feel like that was the only time she felt alive at all. The mix of supernatural and Jonathan being different was a very big shakeup for her. Ted, Nancy, and Steve don't really deserve the hate that they get. They're stuck. Ted gets yelled at, Steve gets dumped and beaten up twice, and Nancy doesn't sit well with some fans of the show. Another thing that felt off to me was Benny's death, and how big of a surprise it was. It didn't really show that much emotional development for the characters who saw him like that, and after an episode or 2, losing the diner owner kind of disappeared under the many subplots coming together. It's unclear what happened between the gate actually opening and her getting away, but I feel like Benny's death was necessary to show Eleven what kind of person Papa was, and the evil they're capable of. She ran away from the lab, but may have gone back eventually with Papa coercing her. His death showed Eleven what life would be if she chose to go back to Dr. Brenner. Conforming to what he wanted her to do could only mean death of self and any possibility of a normal life. Eleven was never truly harmed by the Demodogs or the Demogorgon. Captivity was truly the most dangerous situation for her. This made never hearing more about Benny or his family in the diner after she pointed her finger at Mike's head crystal clear. It showed me that she was beginning to grow and reject going back to Papa. For me personally, Stranger Things was so binge-worthy because I felt the characters were as hungry as me to understand what was going on. In some series, there's kind of always that one detail that a character knew, but had nothing to do with the event itself. They weren't an eyewitness but understood what happened. Most of these scenes where things are being explained in other shows feels dull and quiet because everyone kind of already knows what's happening. That's what makes this cast and crew so special. No one in the room at any time felt like they were 100% sure of what was actually going on, so I was always up to speed with the characters. But hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this somewhat different and review/analysis about a truly awesome show that leaves a lot up to interpretation. If you enjoyed the content, please let me know. I like that these videos take a day to put together, and exploring the dark corners I don't really see too much elaboration on. Peace.